starting early anyway.
Okay.
Detroit Business Hub Group Director Nancy O'Neill works with her team of experts. Listen to conversations with business professionals to discover the latest business innovations, insights, and trends. Find out what's hot and what's not in today's business market.
Hi, Gerald. I'm so glad that you were able to join us this evening as one of our special guests. This isn't your first time to DBHG. You did help us out with the training back in the fall, or actually was last November. So welcome back. Gerald and his wife Cheryl run a real estate agency. They are brokers in Southfield called Professional Realty Team. And with that, I will let Gerald go ahead and introduce himself.
Well, hello, Nancy, and everyone. Thanks for having us on. Just like to introduce myself as Gerald Dixon, a broker here in Southfield, Michigan, doing residential and commercial real estate.
Okay, and how and when did you get your business started?
So we actually opened the office up as a Century 21 office, Nancy, back in 1999. We were a franchise office at that time. Did that for 10 years, and we became an independent company in 2009. That's a 10-year contract with Century 21. And by the time we left, we were about ready to leave.
So instead of you renewing your contract, what piqued your interest in starting your own real estate brokerage versus staying with the franchise company?
You know, at the time, early on in our business, the franchise was working out well. There was training information on how to run the brokerage. But as we became more familiar with that, we kind of grew beyond what Century 21 was offering at the time. I was wanting something more out of their agent training. The one thing that they were consistently doing was auditing our office for our fees. So you know, but it was something, we just wanted something different, and we were ready to go to something different.
Okay. How well did you transition to that independent platform, or to an independent platform?
You know, it wasn't that difficult, actually. You
Okay.
know, Nancy, when we signed up with Century 21, there really wasn't much web presence at the time. And so an independent company didn't have the footprint online that a national franchise did. Well, now all of that has changed.
Right.
They both can only have typically one website, and they can reach it, and they can reach as many people as they can attract. So with that, it makes transitioning something fairly smooth if you have all your clients in a database and you can reach out to them and let them know what you're doing.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I don't really know if Century 21 is still has as large of a footprint as it used to, but you actually, some of your branding is similar to Century 21. So most people, when they saw your logo and everything, they probably didn't even recognize the difference in the same colors and things like that. So that was a smart move.
Yeah, I paid for a few of those houses.
Oh, okay.
Through the franchise fee, and actually they did come out and audit it. They do have the right to say, look, is this too similar? And I think we added a couple more houses and changed something, but they said it was okay.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that they, signed off on that and won't cause future problems for you.
That's right.
So at one point you told us in the training you had several agents working for you. Mm-hmm. And then it seems like after a few years you changed your model. Do you still have a number of agents working out of your office, or is it more like a family run business at this time?
And we actually do have agents working out of the office. The Century 21 franchise model, surely you would strive to have more agents.
Okay.
And actually, Nancy, the agents that we have now are more experienced agents. Mm-hmm. It's more of a long-term relationship with them. And for us, that works out well. There's about 10 of us. And at this point, nope, we don't have to have somebody just to have numbers. We
Right.
have people, a quality team, and we're fine with that.
Okay. Is your daughter still working with you all as well? I haven't seen her in a while. I used to see her
I
a
have
lot
two
more.
daughters. I have two daughters.
Oh, that's true. That is correct.
Yep, one of them got licensed at 18.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
And are they still around?
They are. They are.
Okay.
They're both working. One of them just recently moved to Houston, so we may have to start something up there now.
Yeah, I was for sure. I used to see you all a lot more often than I do now.
Yeah.
So you talked about how the internet levels the playing field with real estate and other businesses.
Yeah.
Why is it good for someone to have a website? Excuse me. And then once they have the website, what should they do with it to use it as a selling vehicle?
And the website just creates a footprint so that people can go out. And typically when you're talking to clients, they want to do a little background check. That's one of the beautiful things about the web, is it lets you go out and take a look at people, information, to seek things out on your own. And then when they meet up with you in person, hopefully based on what they were able to find out on the internet and your website, it all adds up to creating, the kind of marketing information that you want them to have about you. And when it matches up well, it's great, because they've read about your credentials. They feel pretty comfortable with that. They see the business you've been doing. It's just a great way to let people know how they can hear about you on their own and seeking information on their own.
Yeah, and it gives you a really professional and polished look too.
It does. The crisper you can make that web presence, the better.
I would agree with that. After going through several trials of us getting our own website up and running.
Right.
It was just, at some point it was painful. I was just like, I can't work on this anymore. It's just got to make it. But once you see the finished product, it's all worth it.
That's right.
So now we're getting, 700 plus hits a month, and we're working on getting up to 1,000. Like 700 is in the internet world really isn't a whole lot, but it's a start. So
it is, and that's respectable. It is, because it is.
Okay. So why do you think, we talked about this in the training a little bit too, why would this be a good time for someone to get started in their own real estate business, either selling residential homes or commercial properties? And
Nancy, in most businesses, isn't it interesting how timing is critical? If you were to get, if a person were to be a new agent in 2009 when the market was crashing, seriously, it would just be a difficult time to try to learn the business.
Yeah, that's when I got out the business, was 2008. I couldn't sell any houses.
Seriously, it's just a tough time. And this market is absolutely the opposite end of the scale, where you can't keep a house on the market because it's going to be sold fairly quickly. And if you have buyers, you're going to have to train them to bid over the list price and guarantee above the appraisal to win a bid. So it's absolutely something totally different. It's a great time for a new agent if they have relationships where they can get clients, especially selling clients. They'll sell those properties with no experience at all, with very little experience needed to do that.
It sounds like it's a buyer's market, and I hear that the interest rate right now is fairly low.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are shopping. Oh, sales market. Okay, thank you for correcting.
Yeah.
A seller's market. So a lot of people who are probably not, may not have been that interested in real estate. They might be more interested now because they feel like, they can make more commission, or this is a good time to sell your house because a lot of buyers, there's not a lot of property out there.
It's not.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting because Nancy, so that's the focus for a new agent right now. You just need to find clients that you can talk to who are considering selling in the next year or so, and work with them to get their property on the market now. because if they know they're going to have to sell, and we're finding many people do, they're relocating, they're downsizing, they're doing a number of things that they know they need to sell, then we're just helping them do that now, and it's working out really well for them. And that's what a new agent would focus on. Surely if they were in my office, that's where I would have them focus right now.
Right. So you don't need like a ton of listings, or is it a good time to list houses too?
Oh, it's a good time to list. It's an absolutely good time to list, because you can sell just about anything right now. And everything sells for a price, right? But right now it's pretty competitive. Sellers are having their way.
Now, why do you think that is? You think it's because the interest rate right now is so low, for the mortgage rates are so low, or what are some of the other factors involved in that?
And so that's a big part of it. The low rates are allowing buyers to spend more and still have a fairly low monthly payment. And then when you talk about things like the pandemic, it has limited the number of people who are ready to put their home on the market at this point. And so that reduced inventory alone is driving up demand or enhancing that demand. And so it's working out well for them. But it's a number of things: interest rates, low inventory, buyer demand, pent up demand. And when you add it all up, it's just, it's really hot. Unbelievably hot.
Well, that's good news for you all. That's great.
It is.
How was the market when the pandemic first hit? Did you find that it was slow? I talked to some commercial investors, and they felt like last year, some of them said last year was a wasted year.
I know.
How was it on the commercial side? I mean, how did you all do last year compared to right now?
So the commercial side, we have Dixon commercial properties as well. So we do commercial deals. The commercial side was really hit. And I'm talking about from a host of retail space, any space that was completely shut down. And that was the majority of it.
Right.
I'm talking about property managers, anyone that was dealing with collecting rents from clients and having customers walk into an office box. They were shut down. And so it really caused some catastrophic issues for most people, especially if that's the only space they were dealing in. If they didn't have any other residential business or something else. And we were even shut down. If you remember, the governor had the state of Michigan shut down for some time, where we couldn't even show homes. And our offices were shut down. So we were literally shut down for months as well. It was a challenging time.
I mean, how did you all weather the storm? Like, what did you do? Could you show houses via Zoom? Like, I know they have a lot of those video tours of homes. So, I mean, but you still got to close at some point. So
That's
if you can't close, it's all kind of pointless.
Nancy, we always wind up after all these catastrophic situations saying, thank the Lord for getting us through this, because sometimes, I'm not kidding you, we almost can't even fathom how on our own skills and abilities it happened. Right. But but of course, what you would do business wise is you'd stay persistent, you'd keep working the deals you have, and you keep working the business to get to a close. But it was really challenging though.
Yeah, I don't really see how you can function, because like the banks were open, they had limited, abilities.
Yeah.
And the title companies are closed. It's like, I don't really know if the lending divisions were open. I know a lot of people like from Rock Financial and on that end, they were working from home. So you had a lot of people working from home. So I was like, I don't see how you get anything done.
It was a temporary shutdown. It literally was.
Yeah.
It was a temporary shutdown of the market. And so it just made it so that, we'd have to sustain ourselves through savings, other assets that we had, because the revenues were just shut down.
Yeah. And so how important is that in sales to have, like, how much do you think you should have set aside? Like if you have a brick and mortar and, you have to consider what if something like this does happen? Hopefully it won't happen again in our lifetime, but
Well,
how
they
much do
tell
you
us,
think you should have set aside?
Nancy, I think every business should ideally probably want to have something like a year's of revenues, something like that to me,
Yeah.
set aside that in case there's something catastrophic that can happen, you have liquid assets available that you could run the business for something like a year until things recover. So
Yeah.
whatever that budget is for the year, you probably need to have something like that available in case something like this happens at the minimum 6 months.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. You started to sound like Dave Ramsey.
Right? Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a year sounds like a good time. We've been through in this pandemic for over a year now. Things have opened up and shut down again and reopened again. Like the
And that's
school
amazing.
system.
That's
Isn't
amazing.
it? It's incredible.
It is. When it first happened, I just didn't think that this would go on this long. But I did. I read a couple articles about the pandemic in 1918, and it actually did go on a couple years. And so it didn't completely surprise me because I said, man, we're literally following pretty much the same footprint from 1918. And so, but of course, we just wanted to get over it. I thought technology and information would help us get through this a little better, but it looks like we didn't use that to the best of our abilities.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And then the time that it took to have a massive production of the vaccine, that didn't have help too much either, because that took really from March that almost took a full year in and of itself. That took really from March of last year to January of this year, 2 presidents before we could get the vaccine in the hand of the people.
And we're still working on it. And we're still working on trying to get the vaccine out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's still a lot of people who have not been vaccinated yet. I think there's a minority of people who say they're not going to get vaccinated. They don't believe in the vaccination, or they don't think it's safe for whatever reasons. But I think a lot more people, they want to get it. I guess they're in line, and they just haven't had access to it yet.
Yeah. But look forward to being past this. That's for sure.
Yes. Yes, a lot of us do. Yeah. With DBHG is mostly a networking group, and networking, to me, you do best in person. So we were definitely affected starting in 2020. We started in January, then this hit in March. And once we had one event at ELE Wealth Management, and after that, we just shut down all operations, and we went to an online platform, which is fairly simple for us to do. But the membership still suffered because you can't meet in person. We didn't have our next in-person event after that March until this past January. So we literally went like 9 months with no in-person events. And for a networking group, that's kind of,
that's a challenge.
Yeah, because you're people are coming in, they're leaving. So you don't want to get to the point where there's more people leaving than coming in. But so thankfully now we are having quarterly events, and we just keep we social distance, and we just keep the events to a fairly small group of people. So it's working out for us right now.
Good.
Yeah, so I'm glad you said this is a good time to start a real estate career business.
Yes.
So with you and your wife, do the two of you do most of the training I think you said you had seasoned agents. So most of your agents coming in right now, they're already seasoned. They don't really need any training, or is there any type of training that you need to do with you all as well?
So and actually, Cheryl and I do sort of divide up the tasks, and the training that I actually do all the new agent training. Okay. And most of our philosophy comes from Mike Ferry organization. They have a very aggressive training program where you literally pretty much stay out of the office and you go see clients. You're not doing a lot of paperwork. You're actually doing work out in the field. And that's we found that to be the most effective. When you're talking to someone face to face, working on a deal. That's just more effective than sitting around and talking about how do you do that.
Yeah,
Because
you really, you don't have any paperwork till you get a deal anyway.
there is no paperwork. You don't have a deal. There's nothing to come in the office for.
Exactly. Yeah, you can watch a couple training videos on YouTube or something.
Right.
You can do that at home.
You can do that at home.
Save the gas money.
You just don't need to come in the office for that.
Yeah, that's that might be distracting to you and Cheryl too, as you and your dogs. You two are trying to work, and people are sitting up here, asking you these elementary questions. You're like,
right.
information off YouTube. We don't have time for this.
and I love to work with agents and Nancy and help them on a real deal. I mean, let's talk. That's exciting. But
that's a key word, real deal.
Right. So I love that.
Yeah.
But and don't get me wrong. There's a time for just sitting down and talking about how do you fill out the paperwork and what do you do. But after that's done, it's time to go talk to someone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think sometimes when we talked about building up your confidence during the training, which is to the audience is available on teachable.com, building up your confidence, but with those scripts like you and Lachelle talked about during the training, with those scripts, I mean, you basically, if you have the scripts memorized until it becomes a part of you and you make it your own, those scripts will help you, that they're your safeguard. If you are lacking confidence or you need to build that confidence up, that's what you use the scripts for.
Yes.
Do you recommend that new agents have a mentor or become part of a team? Why or why not?
And it probably depends on each individual. I mean, I would imagine there are some people who have previous sales skills, maybe in another field, business skills from some other business, and at some point they just may need a mentor who can get them started and rolling. And then there are other people who need to build up those skills, and maybe working on a team and learning one or two aspects of the business at a time until they get it all down might work for them as well. So I think it may depend on the individual. And if I was a broker working with them and talking to them, I would sit down and try to understand who they are and what their skill set is. And then I would recommend something individually based. And once I had a chance to look at that and talk to them. But I'm sure it depends on the individual. For some, there would probably be just a mentor situation, and they could probably get out and do a ton of business. And then for others, they may want to take their time, work on a team, maybe get some leads from the team and some other things that it would be effective. And either way, it just comes down to whatever works for them. I think that's the approach that they should take, what works best for them.
Yeah, and I think that was key. You saying, do you have former sales experience? And if you do, like, what were you selling? Because I think, like you said, a lot of this is according to your database. So one is how many people do you know? And then two, how comfortably do you feel talking to your group, your tribe, or whoever about the product or service that you're selling. So you're right, it's like a two-prong approach here. And I think it does slow people down if they don't have former sales experience, that they kind of need to get grounded first.
I had a guy who used to sell cars. He retired from the car business. He came into our office. I'll never forget it. He came into our office the first day with his computer.
Oh, wow.
And he was like, look, I have names, addresses, and phone numbers right here. And I was like, well, let's get to calling them.
Right. Let's get this started.
He had immediate business.
Right.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think he had that concept or understanding that in sales, it's about who you know and who do you meet in your contacts, right? So he understood about the sales funnel, and you start with your prospects, or the bullseye approach. You start with your prospects, and from there you go to, or leads rather than leads turn into prospects. So the people who are interested in the prospects, hopefully turn into a sale.
Yeah, that's right.
But so that process depending on how many people you know, how comfortable you feel about talking about your product or your service, it can take a little bit of time to fill that sales funnel up. Some people do it really fast. Other people, it might take them up to a year before they start getting consistent income.
Yeah. And that's what you want to get them to fairly as quickly as you can, is having a funnel of deals, and they're able to sustain themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I know in the business you started, because you were working for one of the big threes. You started your real estate business part-time. You were an exec at one of the big threes, and your wife was working the business full-time. Is that the same sales approach you feel that other people should come in? Because I started real estate cold turkey. I just I left the nonprofit industry, went and took my test, passed the test, and I was ready to get started. But I did have to incur a lot of fees.
That's right.
You know, to be able to get my business started. Everybody's not in the position to do that. I definitely did not have a year in savings. So
and Nancy, it's funny you say that. I have one of our cousins who's getting ready to get into the real estate business. He's a very young man, but he's so aggressive. And of course, he's working right now. And I said, Trenton, don't quit your job, because I can work with you to get you up to speed. But what I don't want you to be is in a desperate situation where you have to make money in the business. And I'm telling you, and even when I left Chrysler, at the end of the day, I would tell people, no, hang in there as long as you can. We have to replace that income.
Yeah.
And then you're going to need a cushions and savings, and a continuous flow of business. And when you have all of that, now you can make a decision as to when you want to leave. And some people, hey, they just work it both for forever. And you can do that. Yeah, they can work both forever. And that's perfectly fine. But at the end of the day, I always encourage them, no, don't run off and leave that job just yet. Let's get you some consistent income coming in. And then you can make a decision about that. And if I'm the broker that's working with them, I'll surely, knowing what it's like to do that, I'll surely make sure that they hang in there until they have some business in hand, and consistently doing that before they leave.
Yeah, you hear so often, oh, you're not gonna be able to do this part-time. I heard that a lot with insurance. You can't do this part-time. If you're gonna do it, go all the way in. You want to do it full-time. So I understand both philosophies now, but I did tell people in the book, fire your job, be your own boss, that you do need to replace your income. Because I was a single woman, still single, with no kids. Right. So I'm definitely not going to tell you to take food away from your kids to start a business.
No.
You got to feed the babies, and the babies didn't make those decisions on if you're going to, work a job or start your own business.
That's right. And interesting enough, it's interesting because when you say that, you remind me. I remember some of the, agents at the time when I was we call it dual career.
Right. Yeah.
And I would tell them, look, they'd say, Gerald, I'm going to, we were competitive and kind of messing around. And they would say something like, Gerald, if they were coming behind me, they let clients know I was dual career person. I said, look, it doesn't matter. I said, first of all, I'm going to be knowledgeable.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I'm going to bring some knowledge and information to that meeting. So you better be bringing it as well, because I'm going to be competitive from whatever position I'm working from. And as long as you're that, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because you can be in sales and be full-time and not be efficient with
and not be productive at all.
So you can be at home watching. You say, "Oh, I'm a full-time agent." You kick back on the couch and recline there. You eating popcorn.
It's plenty of them.
I know, because at one point, did Michigan have 100,000 real estate agents? I'm like, there's not that many deals going on in Michigan. We're not that busy in real estate. Yep. So all of these people saying that, I'm a full-time real estate agent. Okay, and you sold 5 houses last year.
Right,
okay.
Right.
Yeah. No. Not unless they 5 luxury homes, like $1 million plus property. Yeah. No.
They could have been doing something else.
I hope so.
They could have been doing something else.
Selling houses.
Right.
Yeah, they definitely weren't selling houses. So
No.
I hope they had a plan B going on.
Right.
Yeah, but there is a lot of that going on. I met you through Agriva. Tell us
Yeah.
why it's important for us to join those types of organizations. Why should someone who's a realtor join a real estate organization?
Yeah. And what these trade associations do for you is they expose you to other people in the business. And
Mhm.
one of the things that we found, Nancy, is that uh, in an organization like Agriva and NARAB, there were members who were willing to share with us the things that we weren't hearing anywhere else. And they
Mhm.
were just open to sharing information with us about things that would make our business successful. And you got to get it. At the time, I didn't know, before I joined Agriva and NARAB, I didn't know a lot of independent brokers. As a matter of
Right.
fact, you know, uh, and what you find out is, wait a minute, that's the bulk of the brokers. And
Mhm.
I was like, really? You guys aren't paying a 7% franchise fee and 3%? They're like, no, man, that's profit. That's our profit. And I was like, really? Well, and so you're just exposed to information, networking, uh,
Mhm.
um, and to me, uh, there was a lot of training ideas about how to run your business that was just outside of the franchise. And let's
Right.
just be clear about it. No one organization has all the information, right?
Right.
And so it makes sense to do that, just to expose yourself to other ideas and information, and then surely talking to people about what they're doing.
So if you all were brokers with Century 21, I'm sure there were not a lot of African American brokers
Yeah.
at the time. And
Right.
I don't know if you're familiar with Virgil Page when he was a Keller Williams broker and then he went independent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is this something where the individuals like the African Americans who are still within that franchise and saw you as role models and, this is something for me to strive for and to see you leave and go independent, how do you think that made those agents feel?
And I'm not sure. I think, I know many brokers who are still franchise brokers now who are African American. And so
Mhm.
I don't think it was anything uh, uh, that that affected anyone else's decisions. But I think
Mhm.
you just have to look at it and say, how's this work for me? Because the brokers who are still franchise brokers, they love it, and it's
Okay.
working for them. And
Mhm.
and and depending on your office setup and things like that, I think it's still an effective route for people who want to do a franchise. Just for us at the time, it's not, and it's not now. Uh,
Right, right.
yeah, but
Yeah, it
no,
seems.
I
Go
hope
ahead.
I hope what we didn't. I mean, and then again, there were a number of people who were just looking to get out of the franchise. They
Right.
all have their heyday at some point, and at the end of the day, it's like, okay, is this something that I still want to do? Because you really don't know how that franchise operates and works until you run it for a while, right?
Right, exactly.
And that's when it becomes clear to you, okay, this is what this is going to do for me, and is this something that I want to continue to do or not?
Absolutely. And the other thing too is that, like you said about your footprint, once
Mhm.
you've branded yourself and
Mhm.
you might even have a similar logo or name as
That's
the
right.
company you're leaving.
That's
Um,
right.
like you said, what's the point of giving them some of your commission dollars? Like it doesn't make any sense at one point. I mean, 10 years in one industry seems like you've definitely been in the industry long enough to brand yourself.
In the real estate industry, the franchise just doesn't mean what it used to 30 years ago.
Okay.
And so it just doesn't. And like I said, I remember when Century 21, we had the back page of the Detroit News. And
Mhm.
everybody who was looking for a house knew on Sundays, you go to the back page of the Detroit News, and guess who had a big ad there? And
Century.
we did. And some of the older brokers, that's one of the things they were like, hey, this works right here. And I was
Right,
like, look, guys, we're going to an internet.
right.
We're going to have web presence if this is
Mhm.
important to us. And
Mhm.
so, those were some discussions we had back then that we used to have difference of opinions.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's just not the same thing anymore.
I understand. What do you think about the EXP realty?
Concept?
Yeah, that business structure, because I have had an EXP agent on here. He was formerly with a large franchise. It was actually Keller Williams. And he just loves EXP. So I just wanted to get your opinion as a seasoned broker about what you think about the business model.
Again, it's one of those things that every model has something for someone. And so I don't knock any of them. I think it's like a network marketing model. Having done things like Amway before, just not that appealing to me right now.
Yeah, gotcha. I did the Amway thing too.
That's right.
Amway, Mary Kay, a couple other things.
And at the end of the day, there's no really the broker is the broker over the entire company, and so at that point, it has an appeal to some people, and I think, hey, if it works for you, that's fine. It's just not the model that we're looking to be a part of at the moment.
Yeah, and then
not to say it couldn't change, but not to say any of them couldn't change, right?
Yeah.
But right now, no, that's just not something we're.
Yeah,
but I know it's working for some people, Nancy. I will say that, because I know people in different places. They're bringing on agents all over the place, and that works for them. Hey, that's perfectly fine.
Right. And I was going to say, it depends on how you come into the business. So, I mean, you're much more established. You've been doing this for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
Whereas he's a newer agent. I mean, less than 1 or 2 years old. He wanted that mentor aspect of the program, which is something that they offer. So it's like you said, different strokes for different folks. It probably is a better model for newer agents than seasoned agents. But it's and actually, interesting enough, one of the owners is what he told me. I had to double check my facts to make sure this is accurate. But one of the owners is actually one of the former founders of Keller Williams, and he did the Keller Williams model and said, okay, this isn't working with this franchise. I'm going to go in and tweak this, and this. And from there, he birthed EXP Realty. So that's the story I hear, but I will double check.
And that doesn't surprise me,
right?
Because that's how many things get started. When someone takes a look at the model from inside and say, you know what, if we can tweak this one, can make this something different, and let's talk. And actually, he must not have been Gary Keller.
No,
you hear me? Right. He probably wasn't Gary Keller. So for him, this was something that he could start. And it's like, hey, look, how can we do that? And so I take my hat off to him. It's like Buddy's Pizza and Shields Pizza. They tell the story is that somebody left Buddy's and started Shields. Pretty cool.
Well, just like with McDonald's, it was originally ran by two men or two brothers, and then they had very, limited capacity on what McDonald's could be. And so it got, the person that bought it out from them, he turned it into, a multinational company. So I guess it just depends on whoever catches the vision, what they do with it.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's interesting when you kind of see how some of these businesses started, and you see that they're ordinary people just like you and me. They just had a really big dream, and then probably got connected to the right people to get it started. Yeah.
And they also, for EXP, they had to be a techie person too, because there's a lot of tech side, back office stuff in that network marketing piece and tracking and developing the business. And so I take my hat off to someone who, they took advantage. Without technology, they would never be able to do that, right?
Right.
And so technology allowed them to do a business model that could take advantage of that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, they have a lot of agents that work out of their home. They work with other agents that they do have to go into an office setting. And they work with, temporary office leasing space, if they need a space for a closing. So it makes sense, because what they did is they cut the overhead, they cut that middle person out. And so they're able to offer more commission to their agents.
And the computer can track all those relationships on who brought who into the business and all of that. And so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a very unique concept. I like the concept. And then when you look at it, it's a lot of the really geniuses that you see. It's like this. I could have come up with this. This isn't not. It's not that complex. It's just like you said, somebody saw an existing model and they tweaked it. That's
right.
how a lot of things get invented. So
it is.
Yeah.
Because you're right. When we see so many of these things, we're like, hey, wait a minute.
Right.
And the kicker becomes 25 years from now, something else will come up, right?
Exactly.
And they'll have something EXP-2 kind of thing where they take something to another level.
Right.
And that's fairly consistent in this business. I mean, when I look back over the franchise history, for 10 or 15 years, a number of organizations have kind of had a heyday.
Right.
And then you look up and there's always some other up and coming franchise that's new to the industry and they're running like gangbusters. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, they say with the multi-level marketing companies, it's always good to come in on the basement floor.
Yeah.
Because once the multinational's been exposed to a large number of people and they go international and all that, every time they get larger and larger, it's like your commission check gets smaller and smaller.
Right.
So
hey Nancy, if that guy had come talk to me as one of the first persons to get in, I might have been interested. Yeah.
Why did he know who Gerald Dixon was?
That's right. It's about relationships. It's relationships and timing. If they had come talk to me as one of the first persons to get in, guess what? I might have been interested.
So sign me up. Right. And that company is not that old either.
No, it's not. It's fairly new.
Yeah.
I want to say within the last 5 or 10 years. I'm almost sure.
Yeah. I was just going to say about 5 years. So they just exploded.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to do some brainstorming, figure out what's coming next on the horizon.
Let's talk about that offline, Nancy. Let's talk about that offline.
That's one off.
Okay.
Well, I was telling Gerald in the green room, we do have an event coming up on June 26th. It's called the Real Estate Investor Workshop. It's going to be right here at Incubizo from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. Everyone is invited. Tickets are on sale right now. You can go to our website at dbhg.org for more information. So we look forward, hopefully, to seeing you there, Gerald, along with Cheryl.
I'd like to do that.
Yeah, we would really like to see you there and get your input and expertise from all the years that you sold residential and commercial property. And it's sponsored. Well, we're one of the sponsors and we're one of the hosts, and it's sponsored by the JEDA Group. They'll be coming in and doing a presentation, as well as Ashton Business Consulting. Our accountant for the organization is going to come in and talk about how to use real estate as for tax write-off purposes. So I think it's going to be a great event. I'm looking forward to you all attending. For our online audience, please go to dbhg.org for more information. I just want to see if we have any questions. Let's see, don't see any. So, Gerald, if anyone is interested in working with you as an agent, or they're interested in taking a look at residential commercial property, how should they get a hold of you?
There are a number of ways. They could call the office at 248-351-2121. They can go to www.proteam1.com.
Okay. Okay, sounds great. Well, as always, Gerald, it was a pleasure speaking with you today. Hopefully we will see you in June, and I'm looking forward to us getting together to talk about those business concepts.
Right. And thank you for having us on, Nancy. Look forward to doing it again.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Gerald. Have a good evening.
Okay. Goodbye.
Goodbye.